Guys, we're less than a week away from the NFL draft. So let's do one final mock draft. But instead of just me doing it, I'm going to need some help from some friends. So we've got people from ESPN, Yahoo Sports, The Ringer, tons of great independent sites over here at Best Available to do one final full first round mock draft over here in today's episode. I'm so excited to dive into this mock draft. Thank you so much for supporting the channel by watching. This project took a little over a month to put together, tons of reaching out to people. Thank you to everyone that helped out with this mock draft, sending in your clips, sending in your picks. This is a really fun project, so I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Again, please subscribe and support all of these people's great work. These are all tremendously talented individuals, so make sure to check them out on socials, their independent sites, wherever they work for. Check them out. Let's go ahead and dive into it, starting with a friend of mine in Bleacher Report's Matt Holder.
The first pick of Best Available 2026 NFL Mock Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. Since moving on from Derek Carr at the end of the 2022 season, the Raiders have had a new Week 1 starting quarterback every year, with plenty of other guys mixing in during the season as well. A big reason for that is that the Raiders haven't been in a position to draft the future of the franchise. So, now that they have the number 1 overall pick, there's no reason to overthink it or even entertain any trade offers. Plus, Mendoza's accuracy and decision-making makes him a great fit in new head coach Clint Kubiak's offense. With Kubiak and Mendoza at the helm, it's the start of a new era in Las Vegas, and one that hopefully gets the organization back to its two mantras that have defined it: commitment to excellence and just win, baby.
New York Jets on the clock. They're going to be selecting Arvell Reese with the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft. Outside linebacker, edge, weapon, used him that way at Ohio State. So Jets have already added a ton to their defense. They're still missing that kind of key weapon X type player, and Arvell Reese is going to be the pick for the Jets number 2.
Arizona Cardinals select linebacker Sonny Styles. I wanted Arvell Reese to fall. I wanted to get a trade down partner. I just could not find a right tackle graded high enough here. So I look at my linebacker group. I look at the Sonny Styles profile. Combine performances at a position of all time. Matt Patricia had him fully unlocked. I think it was really impressive. His instincts for somebody that was a converted safety to be able to run and react that quickly in both coverage and also against the run. I think that he has really high-end traits for coverage in particular. Crazy range, crazy radius as well. Going to be a total menace in zone coverage. So Arizona Cardinals find the linebacker of the future at pick number 3.
I'm on the board with the number 4 overall pick to the Tennessee Titans. I want to give a quick shout out to Hayden. Thank you for taking Sonny Styles. Makes my job a whole lot easier here. Because frankly, I imagine the Titans are torn between 2 players. I think Robert Saleh is probably pounding the table for Sonny Styles. And the ownership probably wants Jeremiah Love to sell tickets. And I'm going to take Jeremiah Love. Even if we have questions about taking a running back this early, I think the Titans' offensive line's in much better shape than I think you'd expect for a struggling franchise. You've got a quarterback you want to build around. You need some offensive weapons. Boy, does Love fit that mold. Just a really rare talent. Built kind of like DeMarco Murray, but he has this like body control, flexibility, obviously the athleticism with the hurdling. He's such a unique, complete 3-down player that can also catch passes out of the backfield, help out in pass protection. He really is one of these rare talents. I think putting him in the backfield with Cam Ward opens up so much for this offense. And yeah, maybe Saleh wants an all-pro linebacker instead, but I think Jeremiah Love's an awfully nice consolation prize. Even if you're taking them 4th overall, I just think this guy's going to have an immediate impact on this Titans offense.
With the 5th pick, the New York Giants are going to select Caleb Downs, safety from Ohio State. Was hoping Sonny Styles would be available here because I think he would be the pick. Just kind of a perfect fit in the middle of what the Giants need in that defense. Another linebacker next to Tremaine Edmonds. But I think Caleb Downs can play a similar type of role, give the similar responsibilities to what the Giants need. Definitely someone in the back 7, someone who can come play in the box and fit the run. This is one of the worst run defenses by DVOA last year. So I think Downs, the way you can kind of interplay him with Javon Holland in this Denard Wilson defense, just be kind of a jack of all trades a little bit. Someone who can play the slot, play deep, definitely be used more in the box. I think someone who they can really get the most out of in this defense is an area where I think they have the most holes. Offensive tackle now with Jermaine Illuminor back in free agency. That's not an immediate need, so you can maybe do that later in the draft or even next year in the first round. So I think Downs is just the best player available, fits an extreme need for this team as they kind of rework this schematically on the back end for 2026.
Browns come on the clock with the 6th overall pick. In the real world, I think this is a spot the Browns would love to trade out of. On draft night, I would be surprised if the Browns actually select with the 6th overall pick, but in this mock draft, the Browns take Georgia offensive tackle Monroe Freeling. Trading for right tackle Titus Howard, signing Elgton Jenkins, signing Zion Johnson in free agency, the Browns have done their best to try to reconstruct this offensive line, with left tackle being the big hole. They go Freeling here, the long, prototypical, athletic, young left tackle, as opposed to the consensus right tackles who have some outlying data, whether that's Spencer Fano with the size outlying data or CeCe Moinoa with maybe some of the range and athletic concerns there from him and the concerns he might have to kick into guard. So Browns keep it simple here, stay on the clock, take Monroe Freeling, 6th overall.
With the 7th overall pick in this NFL draft, the Washington Commanders are going to select Ruben Bain Jr., the defensive end out of Miami. I know they spent a lot on their defensive line in free agency, but I still feel like that room needs a centerpiece, and Bain can be that centerpiece. He is very well-rounded. He is explosive off the line of scrimmage. He's got bend, and he is extremely powerful at the point of attack. He's got a wicked array of pass rushing moves, including a hump move, which you don't see that often. It was popularized by Reggie White, if you want to go check those plays out. Ruben Bain has a similar tool in his arsenal where he just kind of rushes up the field and then gets his elbow under the tackle and like chicken wings his arm up and throws the tackle past him. That's kind of how he compensates for the shorter arms. He's got great plans, and he was maybe the most dominant player in college football down the stretch. I thought he looked like the best guy on the field in the national championship game, and I think it should mean something to show out like that on that stage. I think Bain is a blue chip player in this class.
With the 8th overall pick, the New Orleans Saints select wide receiver from Ohio State, Carnell Tate. This is simple for me, guys. Carnell Tate is one of the best route runners and separators in the class. He's a technician who understands leverage, who plays with a high football IQ, but he also has the springy athleticism to attack the ball at its highest point and play above the rim. He's a 3-level threat that would absolutely help elevate an NFL passing offense. And pairing him with fellow Ohio State alumni Chris Olave would give Tyler Shuck a dynamic duo at the wide receiver position. And my goal here is simple. Tyler Shuck showed us flashes of what he could become and what he could be. Now let's turn those flashes into consistency and allow him and this team to take over the NFC South.
What's up, guys? James Foster here. For the Chiefs at 9, I'm going to go with David Bailey. Now, I personally have Ruben Bain Jr. as my edge 1, but with Bain off the board, I think Bailey is the clear next best option. He's a top-tier athlete, doesn't have great bend, but very explosive first step, excellent pursuit speed, and really improved his long arm and bull rush this year. Was able to create a lot more pressure through the chest with power. That was the main thing I wanted to see from him based on watching his tape over the summer. I think Bailey gives Kansas City the juice off the edge that they've been looking for the last few years.
I'm back on the clock with the number 10 overall pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. A lot of the options I'm considering for the Bengals are already off the board. You know, you're kind of hoping for one of these edges to maybe fall after losing Trey Hendrickson. You know, you could consider Caleb Downs. But Joe Burrow, man, we need to protect this man, you know, and he's holding on for dear life. I can't imagine, you know, the frustration he's dealing with, struggling to stay healthy, you know, constantly being under duress, despite having such talented receivers. So Francis Maui-Noah is going to be the pick. I think that's a pretty self-explanatory one. Get a guy that can play tackle or guard for you. You know, he may not have the length to play tackle, but he certainly has the footwork, and man, is he an ass kicker in the trenches. I love a guy that plays with low pad level despite being taller for a tackle or a guard. He just, you know, gets so low, drives his legs. He's so damn tenacious. This is the kind of guy not just to protect Joe Burrow, but also help the run game get going, that I think is such an instant upgrade on the Bengals offensive line. Feels like a really nice pick. Even if they're not getting one of these other guys they're probably hoping slides down to 10, I would hardly call Maui-Noah a consolation prize.
With the 11th overall pick, Miami selects LSU cornerback Mansour Delane. Now, you're going to hear a lot about this over the course of draft weekend, but the Dolphins have a lot of holes on this roster. They can go ahead and address one of them by taking a future number 1 cornerback. First-year coach Jeff Hafley specializes working with defensive backs, and he's going to love Mansour's size, ball skills, and most of all, his physicality. This is a guy you could set on an island and forget about unless your opposing quarterback is feeling lucky that day. Now, like I said, Dolphins do have a lot of holes to fill, luckily for them. They've got 11 picks in this draft, including 7 in the first 3 rounds, and another one coming up at the end of the first round at 30th overall. Stay tuned.
What's up, guys? This is Connor Livesey with Blogging the Boys, making the Cowboys selection with the 12th overall pick. I went with Akeem Mesidor, the edge rusher out of Miami, with all the top defenders off the board and how much help the Cowboys need on defense. I took the best one available. That was Akeem Mesidor out of Miami. His size, pass rush ability, explosiveness, bend is something that is lacking in the Cowboys edge rush room right now. They traded for Rashawn Gary earlier this offseason, more known for his run defense and his pass rush. So I think getting a true, pure pass rusher in Akeem Mesidor would be a big help to Christian Parker's defense and give them a guy that they can line up out wide as an outside linebacker or play that 4-eye spot when need be in a 3-4 base. So Akeem Mesidor, Miami edge rusher, the 20th overall or the 12th overall pick, to the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, it's Charles McDonald for Verts, Yahoo Sports Football 301 podcast. For this mock draft pick, I went with Utah offensive tackle Caleb Lomu. I felt like it was pretty straightforward here. Rob Hemmingson retired, longtime Rams right tackle. Lomu plays right tackle for Utah. Big athlete, explosive. I think it fits Sean McVay's run game. And I think he might be going before his teammate Spencer Fano here, but I think Lomu's a little bit more explosive. Doesn't have to worry about arm length concerns and potentially kick inside to guard. And again, like I said, good fit for where the Rams are. And I think he's the kind of guy they need to just stay afloat and keep that offensive line moving.
And with the 14th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Vega Ioane, guard, Penn State. Ioane is the best tone setter in this class. He's a 32-game starter from Penn State that consistently on tape shows that he can play with heavy hands and is a strong finisher in the run game. Ioane plays with a chip on his shoulder and is the first dude you want off the bus. His lateral quickness is good enough against more explosive interior defenders, and he's effective as a puller on toss and counters. He'll need to work on overextending or misplacing his hands, but overall, he's one of the most consistent players in this draft and should be a long-term starter with all-pro potential at left guard.
All right, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pick, I'm going to go with Georgia linebacker C.J. Allen. Multi-year starter for them, just a true junior, and yet somebody who has called the defense for them for a couple of years. He was a starter as a true freshman. That's how smart this guy is. Kirby Smart got him on the field right away, and I think that's what the Buccaneers need at linebacker. They need that field general type of player. They have Savasier Dennis. They signed Alex Anzalone, but they need a linebacker, a true middle linebacker type, to be the centerpiece of that defense, and I think that's what C.J. Allen can be. Some concerns about, just the overall athleticism, but man, there are some reps where I just think that's not an issue at all. So this is somebody who I respect so much of how he sees the game, how it's flowing to him, how he flows to the ball, all that kind of stuff, how he can be that commander in the middle of the defense. And that's exactly what Tampa needs.
With the number 16 overall pick, the New York Jets are going to be selecting Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver and Blitnikoff winner out of USC. Jets desperately need a wide receiver to complement Garrett Wilson. They've got guys like A.D. Mitchell is probably a better fit for wide receiver 3 on the outside. They're still missing that dynamic playmaker. I think with the available options on the board, Mekhi Lemon's the best fit for the New York Jets. A lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown comps and guys of that nature. Aaron Glenn obviously, coached Amon-Ra in Detroit, and the Jets again could use that playmaker there. And I think Mekhi Lemon's a great fit from a complementary style of Garrett Wilson, just going to be a really good football player for the Jets going forward, and whoever the quarterback is going forward in 2027.
Hey, Jeff Risdon here from the Detroit Lions podcast. I went with Blake Miller, offensive tackle, Clemson, as the number 17 overall pick. And a couple of reasons why I did. First, offensive tackle is a massive need with Taylor Decker moving on. Blake Miller is NFL ready. Picked up his game a lot as a senior. 4-year starter at Clemson, proven, can play on the right side, which means Penei Sewell can move to the left, which the team appears to be okay with. Love how Blake Miller got better at the things that he needed to get better at from an NFL perspective as a senior. His footwork improved, his ability to sustain blocks improved. I like that he's got that mindset, has the experience to come in and play right away for a team that is their Super Bowl window is open right now, and it makes more sense than a developmental type player at 17. It's tough to look by some of the edges, but the depth at that position in the second and third rounds makes it a little bit easier to sit on tackle for the first pick.
We've got a trade at 18. Trade alert. We've got Arif Hassan covering the Minnesota Vikings and working for wide left, along with Devin Jackson, who covers the Philadelphia Eagles for the Philadelphia Inquirer. And that first round swap includes the Minnesota Vikings getting the 23rd pick, the 98th pick, and the 178th selection, while the Eagles get 18 and 234. So I imagine they use the trade value chart for this. Arif's kind of banking on some certain players falling to him. But here we go with Devin and the Eagles selection.
With the 18th pick of the best available community mock draft, the Eagles trade up with the Minnesota Vikings and select Spencer Fano, a 3-year starter at Utah who's played both tackle spots, plays with great grip strength and pad leverage, has some movement skills out on the run game, and will fit a need for the Eagles, who enter the season with Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata out at tackle. At guard, Landon Dickerson, Tyler Steen. Spencer Fano has scheme versatility. He could play both guard and tackle for the Eagles. And that's something that the Eagles are looking for with Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson considering retirement this offseason.
With the 19th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Oregon safety Dylan Thieneman. Thieneman is a guy who's got a lot of versatility on the back end. He can play the post, he can play in the box, he can play nickel corner. He can be a popular asset in the Panthers' big nickel package, and he's a great complement to Trayvon Merrick and Lathan Ransom, two guys who are better probably playing in the box, better blitzing. Thieneman brings speed to the safety position, and I think he can really help the Panthers in the secondary, especially as they look to get better in coverage, create more turnovers, and force more pressure.
What's up, guys? Again, this is Connor Livesay with Blogging the Boys, making the 20th overall pick for the Dallas Cowboys. We went with Akeem Messidor with the 12th overall pick. We're going to go to the secondary now with the 20th overall pick, and that is Avion Terrell, the cornerback out of Clemson, a guy who can play inside and out. His tenacity, coverage skills, both from man and zone, from inside or out at Clemson, I think can be greatly utilized with Christian Parker's defense in Dallas now. A guy who plays the run really well. He blows up screens, he can cover, he can do all the things at the nickel spot and the outside corner spot for Christian Parker and help improve that Cowboys pass coverage that really struggled in 2025. So we have Akeem Messidor at 12 and Avion Terrell at 20.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Jared Bailey from SB Nation. I was in charge of the Pittsburgh Steelers pick, and with the 21st pick, Steelers selected wide receiver Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. The Steelers right now, even after trading for Michael Pittman, still only have 4 receivers on the roster. The other 2 receivers outside of Pittman and DK Metcalf are Ben Skoranek, who is a special teams guy, and Roman Wilson, who has 12 catches in 2 years. They are undoubtedly going to use at least one of their 12 picks on a receiver. It's just a matter of when, not if. And I expect it to be used on one in the first round, especially when you look at the crop of talent in the first round that the receiver position has in this year's class. And if Jordan Tyson does fall to them at 21, he's a guy worth pulling the trigger on. I know that over the last couple weeks, he's reportedly slid down some boards due to medical red flags. But they had a similar situation a couple years ago with Peyton Wilson, who slid to them into the third round, and he's been a really big part of their defense. So, drafting Jordan Tyson helps them both focus on winning now, but also plan for the future. In terms of winning now, when you set up probably Aaron Rodgers with DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman, and Jordan Tyson, that gives them a nice trio of weapons to distribute the ball to, as well as Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington at tight end, a good backfield duo with Rico Dowdle and Jalen Warren, and a good offensive line. But also planning for the future, it's going to be much easier for the Steelers to figure out who their long-term quarterback is going to be if they surround them with all this talent. If they want to give Will Howard a shot, it's going to be a lot easier for them to figure out if he is the real deal or not with all this talent around him. Ben Roethlisberger's talked about it a lot himself. They need to build the team around the quarterback, the quarterback around the team, not the team around the quarterback. And if they set up whoever that next quarterback is going to be with as much talent as possible, that's going to make it a lot easier for them to find said quarterback. And Jordan Tyson can help them kind of knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, help them compete now and potentially win a playoff game or two this year, but also help them find that quarterback of the future. And that's why they take him at 21 overall in this year's draft.
Chargers general manager Joe Ortiz comes from the Ravens, who have made a killing drafting players at non-premium positions who slip relative to their actual talent level, like center Tyler Linderbaum or safety Kyle Hamilton. Tight end isn't a huge need with Arondé Gadsden II in that room, but Kenyon Sadiq is a perfect fit for a Mike McDaniel offense, considering his ability to get open against man coverage and his advanced route tree. Free agent signing Charlie Kohler adds more than enough as a blocker to cover for both Sadiq and Gadsden's deficiencies in that area, but I also think Sadiq has the technical chops to make big strides there. Edge rushers and offensive linemen also aren't flying off the board to this point, so it looks like Los Angeles will be able to find one of those positions at pick 55 if the board holds like this.
Hey, this is Arif with Wide Left Football here to explain my process for trading down and selecting Jermod McCoy with the 23rd overall pick in Tyler Brooks' mock draft. So this was actually a pretty easy decision. It didn't actually work out the way I wanted it to ideally, but it actually worked out really well anyway. So I saw that a top 10 player, Spencer Fano, had fallen all the way to 18, but the Vikings don't need an offensive tackle. So I was able to reach out to Devin Jackson, who I've worked with a lot over at Wide Left, who's a pretty good friend of mine, and I figured, hey, Eagles might need an offensive tackle. He was more than happy to organize a trade with me. So the Vikings were able to trade away. They swapped, day 3 picks, and they were able to grab a day 2 pick, pick 98, to move down to 23 from 18. I was hoping Dylan Thieneman would drop to 23. Didn't happen, so I had to pick between Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who I like a lot, and Jermod McCoy at cornerback. Now, I think the safety depth in this class is pretty good, so I decided to go with cornerback. I thought that was going to be a little bit more advantageous, and I'm pretty happy with the results, being able to grab another day 2 pick along the way. Jermod McCoy didn't play it all last year, but really athletic player. He hadn't run his pro day by the time I picked him, but a 4'4" player with a lot of length, has the ability to kind of operate in all the roles that the Brian Flores defense will ask of him and allow Byron Murphy to kick inside, which gives them a little bit more versatility with whether they want to run man or zone, which I think Brian Flores, who's been running a lot of zone blitzing over the past 3 years, could use, because I think part of it was to hide those corners. Now, they don't need to do that anymore with a little bit more talent at cornerback. The Vikings have a little bit more work to do. They've got a lot of needs, which is one of the reasons that I decided to grab a day 2 pick here. I'm pretty happy with the process.
Back on the clock here with the 24th pick in the draft. The Browns holding this because of a trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars, dropping down from pick 2 to pick 5 a year ago. They still need to address the wide receiver room big time. On paper, this is likely the worst wide receiver room in the NFL, with Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman rounding out the top of that room. And beyond that, it's pretty bleak. So we saw a little run on wide receivers in this mock draft, but Indiana's Omar Cooper still on the board here. That's the selection the Browns make here. Get a guy who can create yards after the catch, hard to bring down in the open field, sure-handed, can play slot or Z. I know he's predominantly a slot at the college level, has the skill set, and a bit of the play strength to play Z as well and win outside. So, big overhaul to the wide receiver room coming either this year or next, a combination of the two, but the Browns get that party started here by selecting Omar Cooper Jr.
With the 25th pick, the Chicago Bears select Caden McDonald, interior D lineman, The Ohio State University. We have been yearning for a big bully in the middle of the trenches on defense for a long time. We won't have Andrew Billings next year, and he was a Chicago favorite for many years. So we need someone to replace him, and we just need someone that is disruptive, and Caden McDonald is that guy.
All right, at number 26 overall in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select out of the University of Georgia, Christian Miller. Look, this is a defense that is completely reconfiguring itself under new coordinator Jim Leonhard. The Bills did address some needs in free agency. The good thing is they addressed the number one need on the offensive side of the ball, DJ Moore. So although it's tempting to take a wide receiver here at 26, the Bills find a big space-eating plug in Christian Miller. We're going to get his measurables for you. He is 6'3.5", 325 out of the nation's best defense, although the Buckeyes may have something to say about that. The Georgia Bulldogs. It's different down there in Georgia. They are nasty. They're cutthroat. They bring a level of aggression. And if you watch the Bills' defense through all of these playoff collapses, they need somebody up front who is just going to eat up blockers and move your 300-pounders the other direction. So whether it is, really, they can go many different routes. Caden McDonald would have been a great pick, but he was selected just ahead of the Bills in this mock. So they go with Christian Miller as they try to build a Super Bowl caliber defense under Jim Leonhard.
What's up, everyone? This is Rich Madrid with the 27th pick for the 49ers. I selected Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of the University of Washington. Primarily selected him because he's a big-bodied receiver who can make contested catches anywhere on the field, end zone, sideline, doesn't matter. That's something that the 49ers offense really needs and lacks currently. Yes, they signed Mike Evans, but they need another guy who's going to be able to push past 4 or 5 years with this team, and Denzel Boston is that guy. He's not going to win with a lot of speed or necessarily be press man all the time off the line, but that can be schemed open in Shanahan's offense. I just think that with Brock Purdy going later in the down as the play progresses, that his accuracy dips, and Denzel Boston would be someone that can give them the contested catches that offense is going to need to make. So I selected Denzel Boston for the 49ers.
Given the grade I have on Caden Proctor at pick 28, this one was a no-brainer. He is top 5 player on my board. I had to actually check a few times to make sure he was still there for the Texans. I think this would obviously be a dream scenario for them. I think given the way they altered their offense down the stretch last year, added more offensive linemen, became more of a duo gap scheme sort of team, I was like, he is the perfect fit for what they wanted to be and what they were doing at that point in time. And they just need offensive line help, right? They get a lot of stop gaps. You need a long-term plan. And for them, he could even start in at guard. He can be that 6th offensive lineman. He can do a lot of things right away for them. And obviously, being still so young, he can grow into your full-time left or right tackle for the Texans. So a no-brainer in my eyes.
For the Chiefs' second first-round pick, I went with San Diego State corner Chris Johnson. Easy mover with good size, can play press, can play off. I think he's arguably the best corner in this class when it comes to route ID and eye discipline. He can give cushion pre-snap, get an early read on the route, break into the passing lane. That's how he had so much production this year. 4 interceptions, 5 pass breakups on the year. The Chiefs have had a lot of success filling out their corner room on day 3, but I think the value makes sense for Chris Johnson here at 29.
With the 30th overall pick, the Dolphins select Texas A&M wide receiver KC Concepcion. And I know fans might be split on going cornerback wide receiver in the first round, given their needs on the trenches, but that feeling's going to go away once you see this kid with the ball in his hands. And it's not even just on offense. Last season alone, he had 9 receiving touchdowns and 2 punt return touchdowns for the Aggies. This is a guy who, no matter where he is on the field, if the ball's in his hands, he is a threat to score. The Dolphins need weapons like there's no tomorrow. Besides Devon Achane, there's not a lot of pieces on this offense that are going to scare or stress an opposing defense, but Concepcion is going to help that cause. And again, they got a 2nd-round pick and 3 third-round picks to figure out edge rusher and offensive line depth. But for now, let's go ahead and add some talent into this wide receiver room.
All right, I got the Patriots taking Arizona State right tackle Maxi Honachor. Obviously, Morgan Moses playing some pretty good football still I believe this year he's going to be 35 years old, but I think the Patriots got pretty lucky last year not having to go to some type of backup plan, Morgan Moses being an absolute Iron Man, but you can't expect that again. And Maxi Honachor is a guy who has an incredible level of athleticism and playability given how new he is to the sport. So with his athletic background, with the growth that he's already shown in his young career, I think that learning under Morgan Moses in a Josh McDaniels system where he's going to get some help, and with a quarterback like Drake May, who might hold on to the ball, hopefully less this season, I think it's a good fit.
All right, for the 32nd pick for the Seattle Seahawks, I am going to select Auburn defensive end Keldrick Falk. He is 6'6", 276 pounds, elite length, very good athlete. I think at the very least you're getting a high-impact early player on base downs, good run defender. He's going to bring that physicality that the Seahawks love. He's got the versatility to kind of line up at multiple spots on the line. And I think, you know, at the very least, he has the upside to develop into a top-tier pass rusher. He's still only 20 years old. Everything you hear about him is he's a great guy, hard worker, leader in the program. I think he's a type of person the Seahawks are going to be really interested in. It just seems like a super value at 32. Obviously, some people talking about him going in the top 15. I think getting him at 32 is great for the Seahawks. Leonard Williams not getting any younger. DeMarcus Lawrence not getting any younger. The Seahawks are getting a nice youth infusion on the defensive line. He might not be the super explosive instant win type of pass rusher that they are looking for, but I think at the very least he's a very good player with a lot of upside to plug into that defensive line, keep people fresh throughout the year, and again, he can play at multiple spots and just bring that physicality. So I think the Seahawks will be ecstatic with this pick.
And that'll do it for today's mock. I have to give another huge shout out to all of these guys for helping out. This was a ton of fun to put together, so I really appreciate all of them taking the time to make these videos, make these selections. And let me know what you think of this mock draft. I'm sure you're going to have plenty of opinions. We've got some really big surprises here, whether it's Akeem Mesidor at 12, Caleb Lomu going before Spencer Fano. And then we've got some surprises as far as guys that didn't make it in the first round, whether it's an Emmanuel McNeil Warren, a TJ Parker, Caleb Banks, Colton Hood. There's plenty of names, which just kind of shows you there's going to be some names at the end of this first round or day one on Thursday where you're going to be like, these guys are still on the board. Even Ty Simpson's still on this board. Shoot. I'm very curious to see. I think it's just going to show you there's going to be a lot of fun names going on Friday as well. So if you want to watch all these draft reactions in real time and get instant analysis that's not just talking heads on some of the bigger networks, make sure you're subscribed because we're going to be doing live shows on Thursday and Friday for the draft. So make sure you stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. Again, ton of work to put into this. So give a thumbs up, leave a comment, share this wherever you share it to all your football friends who also like watching this stuff. But again, a huge thank you to not only watching, but everyone supporting. And we'll see you next week for draft week. Take care, guys.